Hi, hello guys, my name is Mia Marie and you are currently watching my Synastry Compatibility series where I go through all the 12 signs, sun signs, and how they get along. Now, as a general disclaimer, we reference so much more than just the sun sign for compatibility, but the importance of the sun and understanding someone's sun sign and accepting it and supporting it is that the sun sign describes the motives, the behaviors, the experiences that contribute to someone's sense of sanity. So we're not talking so much about what someone needs emotionally or how they flirt or what makes them great in bed, all of those very, romantic topics. We're talking about how to support someone's vitality, someone's sense of self, and someone's healing human journey. So keep in mind that this is just a gentle introduction, and you can get so much more by booking a session with me or another fantastic astrologer. Sun in Scorpio. These people come into Earth with a sole motive of transforming lower desires into higher will by being a spiritual warrior. And they often do this by examining pain. Now, I heard this quote today, and it made me think of Scorpio, irregardless of gender. But it was saying that you can either play victim or play the villain. And I think this is beautiful Scorpio energy because oftentimes they find themselves being a depository for the shittiest human experiences. It's almost like they've come to wrestle with the worst of humanity, especially as it relates to emotions. And so oftentimes they are victim, but you rarely ever hear a Scorpio characterize themselves as the victim. Instead, they take on the villain mentality. Now, I'm not saying all Scorpios are villains, but that was just something that I heard today that made me think of them. Scorpio is the second water sign, so it's socially oriented. And so it has this desire to establish a cohesive social order. It recognizes what needs to be eliminated and it just slices it at the knees. If you've ever had a Scorpio boss, they can be cutthroat. They often have some kind of relationship with inheritance or shared resources. They often do things with a partner, and it's because they rule the house of intimacy and shared resources. At least in their younger years, Scorpio is very afraid of being ostracized or socially alienated for liking or partaking in things that would be considered taboo or atypical. But this is like something they totally get off to. Scorpio offers love in a really interesting but uncomfortable way. I mean, true to form, right? And I'll use an example. So a Scorpio hasn't seen a friend in a year, and they're so excited to reconnect with someone, and they meet them in person and they recognize that it looks like their friend has aged 10 years. And in this 1 year, they've gained 40 pounds. A Scorpio is going to say, "Oh my God, you've gained so much weight. Are you okay?" Now, society would look at that and say, that's rude and inappropriate. And in a Scorpio's mind, it's like, well, that's truthful. Are you okay? And that's the point that I want to highlight, is they nurture and nourish the soul by pointing out something that everybody can see, but no one wants to talk about because it's so uncomfortable. And then the friend goes into it and they start talking about this terrible divorce and how they were betrayed and how they're dealing with trauma. And Scorpio sits there unfazed, totally supportive. And by the end of the conversation, the friend has a new awareness of their overall mental well-being. Now, when Scorpio shares their perspective, they're not meaning to cause harm. They're essentially saying, I'm paying attention to you. And after that conversation ends, they've done something profound. They've used the truth to set their friend free from a situation that was not serving them. They nourished the soul, but not in the way that we would expect or in a way that makes us feel coddled. Scorpio does not coddle. And that's an act of healing. Scorpios are healing. They do the surgical, dirty work where they cut people open and they fix what's broken. They fix what's not working. A second example, and I swear this all builds to a point, so stick with me. A second example is that these parents are taking their young child who's a Scorpio to see the child's grandfather who's in the hospital, very ill. The child goes in, observes the condition of grandpa, has a gut instinct and feeling. The parents get back in the car and they drive the child home. On the way home, the child says, wow, grandpa's really sick. He's going to die soon. Mom slams on the brakes, looks back and says, don't say that. A taboo subject. Now, a year later, grandpa passes away. The child was right. That gut instinct, that feeling was correct. But what the child learns in that moment is that what they think, what they see, what they feel, the truth, when they speak the truth, it hurts. It hurts other people. And so what happens in their younger years is they stop talking. And you see this oftentimes with men. Women who come to me with their Scorpio partner are like, oh my God, they always said Scorpios are so emotional, but he never talks. He's so quiet. He keeps to himself. It's like, yeah, this is someone who's been socially conditioned to keep their mouth shut or they're going to be ostracized. Scorpio is they don't want to be socially ostracized because they're here to be intimate with people. Taurus is mine. Scorpio represents ours. It's always in contract with somebody. It rules contracts. It's the manufacturer. It's the company. Now, the way that they love is through truth. And so they need a partner who, when they go to those extreme places, because life sees to it that Scorpio has what could be considered traumatic or extreme circumstances and conditions. So they need someone who can withstand the emotional storms that Scorpio goes through without being negatively impacted. Another example that I'll use as it relates to Scorpio characters is if a Scorpio has been going through, let's say they have a divorce, they lost their job, their health is going down the drain, and they're recognizing that their life is falling apart. And they confide in a friend and they say, right now, I feel like committing suicide. Now, this is heavy, but I think that this is true for Scorpios. The friend is probably going to say, what? No, they're not saying they're going to do it. They just say they feel like it. Most people will listen to that and say, don't do that. You need to see a psychologist. Like something is wrong with you. Someone who can be in bed with Scorpio will sit there and say, if I were you, I would feel that same way too. There is no avoidance of the truth. There is no avoidance of deep, dark emotions, of realities that all humans have to withstand. Scorpio seems to get all of the lessons, all of the tough lessons. Hence why they are the spiritual warrior. But they require in partnership somebody who isn't afraid to hear the truth, who isn't afraid to be intimate, who isn't afraid to see all sides of a person as they develop and grow, as they win, as they lose, as they soar, as they fall. Once a Scorpio knows that it's safe with you, that it can be itself with you and you won't run away or like shake in your boots, that's when the soft, loving side comes out. They are extreme cuddlers. They love cuddling, they love hugging, they love being intimate. They like spending quality time together. They are also incredibly ambitious and usually extremely successful because they have like an iron fist and a velvet glove. They know how to get shit done and they know how to place people in the right roles. They are like the master when it comes to organizing a company and making sure that things go as planned. They're on top of their shit and they make sure that you are also living up to your potential because oftentimes if they're in business with you, if they're hiring you, you are a reflection of them and their product or their service. And so they hold you to your highest potential as well. They are also soulful lovers. Like, I think they believe in soulmates. I think that they want that type of deep, unbreakable bond. They would die for you. And more than that, they would live for you. Now, let's talk about some deal breakers. As I said, they are here to examine pain and to embrace truth. So if you are someone who will fabricate peace just to feel comfortable, you're not going to get along with a Scorpio. If you are trying to be polite and you sacrifice honesty in your intimate relationship, then they will also not trust you. If you are always polished and clean and poised, then they will be a little weary of you because What aren't you showing them? And also, if you agree all of the time with whatever they're doing or whatever they're saying, they're going to be suspicious because they understand how human psychology works. If two people are getting along perfectly all the time and someone's not being honest, someone's not showing up, someone's not participating in the relationship, they want to wrestle with you sometimes. I'm not saying that these people love a fight, but they understand what it takes to be in an intimate, committed relationship with somebody. And full transparency, Scorpio, the 8th house, is the pinnacle of the arc of intimacy in astrology. And so it is programmed for partnership, and it does want connectivity, but it's like a cactus. You know, like there's water inside, there's emotion inside, but you got to get through the pricks to get there. Sun in Scorpio, 2 water babies. You've decided to partner with someone who has the exact same energy as you. Now, when you're dating your own sun sign, you're taking a crash course in self-love. You're learning to see the fullest expression of Scorpio behavior. Now, this is, kind of an interesting dynamic because Scorpio is so psychologically savvy. It's keeping a pulse on where it's at, and it's usually aware of where it stands and how it's doing. But sometimes we miss things. Scorpio is also the sign of repression. Repression can be just simply not remembering or thinking that you've dealt with something when you haven't. And so when you're dating a person who has the same sun sign as you, they will start to embody the characteristics that you yourself embody or are resistant to embodying. And you're going to want to talk about it. You are going to want to get to the truth behind their behavior. And as you do that, the dialogue that you engage in is going to help certain themes and patterns break through into your own consciousness, and you will also set yourself free. So I see it being an incredibly rewarding partnership. However, when I think about this combination, I think of it as like 2 chefs in the kitchen. It's a problem because you guys both want to be the leader. You both want control. You want to know that you are in charge and you are a person of authority. And so this can pan out in, one of 2 ways generally. The first part is that you guys get along. You guys have moon signs where one person is a little bit more subordinate or doesn't need so much control, and the other person is able to stand in, full-blown Scorpio energy. And the second scenario is there are other factors in your chart that are making it incredibly difficult for you guys to release control. And so what will happen when you guys are kind of bickering or fighting, you guys will use your emotional and psychological intelligence, all of them, to create a sense of insecurity or jealousy in the other person. You guys are both possessive people, and I say that because you guys are on the axes of possession. It's Taurus on one end, and then there's you. So it's totally within your nature to exhibit those behaviors, and in fact, you guys would readily understand where that person is coming from, and you can probably rouse that response more easily because you know exactly what to do. But at the same time, it feels like you guys are either incredibly together or totally separate. There is no middle ground. When you guys are committed, when you guys are getting along, when you guys have other placements in your chart that allow you guys to last the test of time, this is someone who's going to be with you for the rest of their lives. They would die for you. This is the planet ruled by Mars, or the sign ruled by Mars. And so there is this instinctual gut feeling that charges you both. And so, for better or for worse is really what I would say. If you guys suspect that your partner is doing something, we're going to have the pot fly off the lid fly off the pot. If you are so passionate in love with someone, you would kill for them, or maybe more importantly, you would live for them. There are a lot of blessings with this relationship. First and foremost, your guys' extreme behavior will not startle the other person. In fact, when one of you raises your voice, the other one will raise their voice too. And as you guys are doing that, you're kind of self-soothing and regulating, and you also feel more connected in this heightened level of awareness. You guys also prize the truth above everything else. And so, if one of you is gaining weight and the other person calls it out, it won't be the thing that breaks your relationship. The Scorpio person will receive it and say, you know what, I do think that something is off and something's wrong. And they will value that you are paying such close attention to them and you're willing to say the thing that no one is supposed to say. And that's another thing that you guys bond over, is you guys are the depository for shitty human experiences. And not everyone can tolerate, the truths that you have had to learn from years and years of these really soul-jerking experiences. And so there is a sense of familiarity and comfort and not being alone and ostracized and abandoned for who you have become in spite of what you've lived through. And so you may feel like you have met the one person who truly sees the depths of you and kisses you anyways. You guys want to be very sexual and intimate. And so this relationship has a lot of passion that can keep you guys together longer than you would have if that wasn't there. But, you know, you guys have enough similarities to keep it going anyway. But to understand the totality of your relationship specific to this combination, you would have to book a one-on-one reading either with me or with someone else, or just look at your own birth chart and see how your moon signs dance along and your Mercury's as well. But this will be a relationship where you guys are constantly transforming and putting yourselves into the flames of transformation. If you would like to work with me, you can find me at wellandrising.com/services. Toodles!